Welcome back, everyone. We return with our final match of the night, and of course, it's going to be our solos here on the weekends of KDL. My name is Will Cho, continuing the broadcast with Stade. We got the 2-team matches out of the way. Now we've got 8 excellent players taking the stage.
Yeah, man, and these 2 team matches, they were headliners, right? We had basically 4 top 4 teams. I know Aura was technically 5th, but 4 top 4 teams fighting it out. And now here in the solo match, we're getting into one of the most hot groups in the round of 16 as we have a quick look at the overview of solo match. Of course, 10 million Korean won, the first place prize here in KDL Preseason 2. That is just shy of $10,000 US. And right now, playing in the round of 16, 4 of these players will advance to the winners match. 4 of them will advance to their last chance losers match.
Yeah, so we had the match 1, the first group yesterday, where we saw Cool, World, Ding, and Neil moving on to the winners match. Meanwhile, Sungbin, Hyunsu, Joker, and Dutzy will be awaiting 4 extra players in the losers match at the bottom of the bracket. And tonight, we've got the bottom row ready for you. You know, headlined by players like JiMin and HoJun, but there's still a lot of other strong houses. I mean, literally everyone has a reason to be rooted for. Everyone has a reason to really say that they have a claim to the winners match.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at round of 16 match 1, I would say that's a group of death, but then you go look at round of 16 group 2, and it's like, wait, that's also a group of death. How do we have 2 groups of death here in the round of 16? It's absolutely crazy, the talent, as we have a quick look at the track best record. Joker holding on to WKC Brazil circuit, and actually kind of just browsing over this, looks like JJONG has in total 2 track records overall, Sungbin with 2 as well.
Yeah, we've got a couple players with doubles, but
pretty
otherwise,
widespread.
Yeah, widespread, and notably, of course, Ancient Aqueducts and New York Rally being the 2 tracks held by players no longer in the round of 16. They got eliminated, Byung-Soo and Hong being eliminated in the round of 32, but still left a name for themselves. Curious to see if any of these remaining players will ever top those times here in the solo matches.
Yeah, and a fun thing also to note out of this group today is of the 8 players that are playing, 6 of them actually played in the team matches earlier today, so man, they are going to be warmed up coming into these solos, man.
I mean, they've been here the entire evening, and we'll kick things off with Luning in the yellow stripes and just saying, I want to try making it to the winners match. Well, it's not going to be an easy path today.
No, but first in podium percent overall with 87.5%, as that's a very good reason for him to be wearing the gold stripes right now as the highest ranking racer here in this lobby. Luning, Wolf's favorite pick from KDL Preseason 1, definitely showing up in Preseason 2, and now JJONG, of course, the ace hero for ROX Esports last season, now in Season 2, looking to solidify his position as one of our best racers in the world in solos.
Yeah, and he's just once again saying that he continues to be in the same group as his teammate Spell. And it looks like maybe that might be JJONG's parents here to root him on. We'll have to wait and see. Now, of course, moving right along with the red stripes, it's going to be Hero from Aura. And listen, I mean, he's just saying, listen, I'm expected to go straight to the winners match, and there's good reason. I mean, he's been one of those stars that really made a name for himself back in Kart Rider League. He's trying to do the same here in KDL.
Yeah, and even in team speed coming into today, ranked 2nd overall in overall positions, as the Emperor himself and the White Stripes also in this group wants to go to the winners match. No surprise there. This guy, legendary force in Kart Rider, and him versus JJONG gonna be my main storyline here, man. I cannot wait to see these 2 fight off, as you know, HoJun, he's looking so much stronger here in KDL Preseason 2 than KDL Preseason 1. You can tell that he's been grinding all the way up at the top 4 in overall speed ranks as we get a look at Spear.
Yep, Spear also one of those players who, you know, not necessarily always with the flashiest highlights, but obviously an incredible racer on the KWANGDONGFREECS. We just watched him in the team matches. He's trying to continue on his way up through the winners match here in the round of 16. Again, tough group for anybody, but my eyes are on this guy, Most. The actual pure rookie now remaining here in the solos, right? This is his first time competing in the solos in KDL here, but a lot of people have had their eyes on him. He's been making a name for himself on the Grand Prix in the timetables for his own track records, and now he's saying, well, I've even made it to the round of 16. Can I go further? I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, it would be an incredible upset for Most to come through in top 4 in the lobby as stacked as this one now, as we get a look at Spell. Of course, JJONG also rooting him on as, yeah, he's also cheering for JJONG as ROX Esports staying true to their brotherhood, would love to advance together.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously they're, again, another team with an incredible lineup, so not too surprising to see both of them have a chance to go to the winners match, but they've got to get past players like this right here, right, with the orange stripes. The last one we will be introducing is going to be JiMin. And, you know, just saying, okay, I want to get that good start. I want to get my start boost well right at the very beginning of each track. And this is that racer we were talking about earlier who used to be the item ace for Live Sandbox, but he's always been an incredible speed racer in his own right.
Yeah, and justifiably now a hybrid racer here. Is we got a lot of fans supporting him out here in the audience. Is, you know, JiMin, for an item ace, impressed me to no end in KDL Preseason 1. It's no surprise that he is back in the round of 16 here in KDL Preseason 2. Is this lobby looks like we're going to be getting ready to go underway, man. I cannot wait to get started. This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. For anyone who is new to the solo mode, it is a race to first 50 points. You get points based on your rankings of each track, and the first place winner of each track selects the next. But to kick things off, we will be going to Mine Rickety Rails. And kicking things off, it is JiMin who holds that record here on Rickety Rails, right over 1 minute and 38 seconds. See if he's able to continue that to be able to select the next track coming up.
Yeah, Luning with a really great start out of the gate was able to block off a lot of players, but now falling into third place as most Hero and Luning all contesting these top spots, man. It is really tight here in the front of the pack.
Yeah, and of course, kind of the two players that we were highlighting here in the broadcast, JJONG and HoJun, they had a rough start early on, but they're just trying to find an opening here. I think this is the position that he wants to keep, right, where he's not getting collided too much. He just wants to get those podium finishes, barely get enough points to move on to the winner's match.
Yeah, of course, top 4 advance to that winner's match, bottom 4 fall out, and really the seeding doesn't matter too much beyond that point. So for a player like most, just trying to stay safe, stay in the middle of the pack, get a lot of points every single race, it's a good way of booking that ticket to the winner's match. But as it is right now, HoJun, although he didn't have the best start, working his way all the way up into third place with some fantastic racing now, trying to contest these topper ranks. But look at how many players we have right behind him, man.
Yeah, everyone's just bunched up, but HoJun, we noticed that he was just doing very good defense to make sure he doesn't get collided too hard out of his own build. Meanwhile, because of all this contention, Luning and Spell, they've had their own rivalry going on here in the top 2 positions, trying to see who's able to secure first as we wrap up lap 3.
And on top of that, just kind of drafting off of each other to solidify that position as well. Actually, no, wow!
Hero and Spell both fall off, and now it's just Luning way up front, makes way for Spear in second place, but Luning knows he has this in the bag. He doesn't see them behind him anymore. Meanwhile, JiMin trying to shoot forward. Can he at least get second place? He's got that extra boost, but Spear's got another one lined up, and it will be Luning and Spear, then JiMin in the podium finishes here on track 1.
Oh man, what a heartbreaking disaster there for Hero and Spell. They were both in the top 4, you know, gearing up for a podium finish, and then I'm not sure exactly what went wrong, as it was a little bit ahead of the camera there, but both our racers falling off the track and falling all the way back down into 7th and 8th place as what turned from what was a promising start here in the round of 16 match 2 just did not go their way, and Luning sets a new record here, 138 overall, 10 points on the board, and just as Will said earlier, it is a race to 50. So once the first racer gets 50 points, we're gonna look at where the standings fall, and that will decide who advances to the winner's match and who will fall to the loser's match. But man, a dramatic finish there to track number 1, my goodness.
Yeah, rough for Hero and Spell. It just looks like, you know, trying to contest against each other, and they barely kind of lose control and drift slightly off the railing. Obviously just trying to make sure, I'm sure everyone just trying to make sure they keep up in their boost gauges as well. But all in all, that wraps it up. Meanwhile, the man on camera here, Most, the rookie who showed up, and it's his first time on stage. I mean, he impresses everyone by making it to the round of 16. He finished in 5th place, so not so bad, right? He is still kind of in line to try to get that pension meta going. We'll see. I think that seems to be his goal as well, not playing too aggressively. Curious to see if he's able to keep that up. And oh, well, this is a new meta of fan signs. You usually see double fan signs are usually horizontal, but now this one's you flipped your monitors both vertically so you can get one big monitor that says JJONG. I like it, I like it.
A lot of fans out here to support these racers as we're going to continue on with the solo matches, getting ready to go into track number 2. Luning right now leading with 10 points as we move on to Forest Zigzag Timberland. And off we go in the woods of Timberland. Spear here on the left side, going to try and sweep and find his way into a good position, but does not get the better end of the trade as JiMin, HoJun, and Luning racing away in the top 3 pack.
Yeah, of course, Spear just trying to go for a hard cut early on to really fill up that boost gauge, see if it pays off in the long run. JiMin currently not being contested too much, but of course we've got those hairpins at the end of each lap here in Zigzag Timberland. So everyone's still going to be able to kind of bunch up together once again and find an opening.
Yeah, but keep in mind that this track, although it is a little bit easier in speed mode to pass your opponents because, you know, everyone's not really working together to zone each other out, it's still very narrow with a lot of long, wide sweeping turns in addition to those hairpins, and as a result of that, it's difficult to take lines because, you know, one bad collision could have you falling all the way to the back of the pack, and this is not team match. You do not have teammates in position to help you out. It's all about survival here, so would not be surprised to see JiMin and Luning do a great job of holding on to these top 2 ranks.
Oh, and JJONG and HoJun, a little bit of contention against each other, but JJONG found the right draft timing. He now takes over into 3rd place. Meanwhile, JiMin, he's trying to find an opening, but Luning should have the acceleration to keep ahead just for now as you wrap up lap 1 and go into lap 2. And JJONG says, okay, you guys fight amongst each other. I will start to shoot ahead.
And this long straightaway, JJONG is able to take advantage of those collisions and work his way into 1st place. Now JiMin will supplant him there for a moment as we just see these continue to trade hands here as these 3 racers. Now HoJun also getting mixed into the fray as the top 4 breaking away from the rest of the pack, but doing a great job.
Yeah, and Spell just says, don't forget about me. Starts to poke his head into the top 4 just a little bit, but hits the wall. He's going to lose a little bit of speed there. Now, HoJun's been finding some good draft timings to double up with his boost to start to catch up. That's how he gets all the way up now into the top 2. JiMin's still holding on to it for now, but JJONG, he actually gets shoved out a little bit by Spell around that corner. He's going to lose a bit of speed.
Yeah, and that hurts because JJONG was doing a great job of filling up his nitro gauge, was a little bit ahead on boost compared to everybody else, but now going to have to use that just to catch up. And we had one player, Ricochet, fall all the way back to the middle ranks, and now JiMin solidifying his position here in 1st place. Can he hold on to it through these very tight turns? Looks like so far, yes.
Oh, but JJONG, he tries to go aggressive, but he collides. He's not able to keep up that boost momentum. Meanwhile, Luning, he's shown all the way back up.
Oh!
He's actually able to beat JiMin out around the corner. JiMin bumps into the wall. Meanwhile, Luning finishes 1st place once again. Spear right behind him, and Hero in 3rd.
That was a bad collision there for JiMin, who fell all the way from 1st place down to 4th. And of course, yes, you're still going to get podium. You're going to rack up a lot of points. But man, that one hurts as he went from what could have been a 10-pointer to what, 3, 5 points? As Luning doubles up now, 20 points in total on the board. As I'm trying to think back on previous solo matches, and I don't think we've really had any perfect runs yet, have we? We've gotten people come close, but...
Yeah, I mean, perfect runs are really hard to come by, so... Not quite yet, but Luning's on the way, right?
Yeah,
1st
2
place.
out of 5.
Yeah, 2 out of 5, and then Spear, of course, right behind him, 2nd place in both tracks as well. So, catching up with 14 points, and with that type of finish, you start to already see a gap in the points, right? I mean, if everyone keeps getting that same position, Luning's going to start to shoot ahead and maybe even get that perfect finish.
Yeah, Luning and Spear right now pulling away from the pack there in top 2, whereas we have a lot of other players fighting for that cutoff spot. Keep in mind that rank 4 is the position where, you know, you get that top 4, you are going to the winner's match. You have 2 lives left in this tournament, so to speak. If you fall to that losers in the bottom 4, you know, from there on out, you have to play with your life on the line. So there's a lot of pressure on these guys to continue the fight, to continue to get that top 4 position, and we'll see which players are able to redeem themselves as we get ready to move on to track number 3. It'll be Mine 3 Shortcuts.
Luning's pick once again. We're starting to see a pattern, a couple of these tracks with those hairpins, with a lot of those turns. And Luning just trying to prove that he's got the best builds in mind. We already saw a little bit of aggression early on in the track, and now we're starting to see the pack spread out just a bit.
And it's a smart decision by Luning, too, as he also holds the record on this track. This is his bread and butter, so watch to see Luning try to get the 3-peat as he takes the tightener line. Oh, wow, that collision!
Oh, no!
No!
Okay, he doesn't fall off, but
yeah,
he loses just as much time, quite frankly. He gets entirely stopped as he tries to recover against the aggression of his opponents. And now Hero says, this is my my chance to shine. He's trying to hold on to that first place. Meanwhile, Most, he hasn't had the best finishes so far, but he desperately wants to make a name for himself by moving on to the winners match, currently in second place.
Yeah, he's still only a handful of points away from that top 4 cutoff, so for Most, if he's able to get a top 3 or a podium here, would love to see it for him as the rookie's going to try and fight up against the pros. Hero right now leading the pack in first place, Most right behind him. Spear with the outer line, trying to find an angle to pass Most, but as of yet, not really able to get anything come to fruition.
Yeah, meanwhile, we see in the picture-in-picture, Luning just not finding a way to really catch up. He's still far away from even 7th place, so he should be pretty much out of the picture here for a podium finish. Meanwhile, my eyes are on Most. Can he hold on to that top 3, or will he eventually get shoved out? Spell's starting to look for an angle here to make an aggressive move.
Yeah, now with Spell coming in, the pressure on Hero is going to start mounting here, especially if these players are able to close the distance. And HoJun's also entering the fray as Most falls back to 3rd place, and Hero, while he still is able to hold on to first, Most is right behind him with a lot of boost. I think the boost gauge might be a little bit better for Hero, though.
Yeah, but HoJun finds that opportunity as they bump against each other, and HoJun will eventually finish first. He makes a run for it in the caverns themselves, and he finds a great angle to just cut ahead without having to actually go for too sharp of a drift, so he doesn't lose too much speed. He's able to maintain that boost, and now he makes a name for himself in that first place finish, gets to select the next track.
Yeah, and that's a great win there for HoJun, who is sitting at, I think, 4th place with 7 points, now moving all the way up to 17, and you can see he's very thoughtful right now about what the next track pick is going to be. There's a lot of points in the bags here for the Emperors. He solidifies his position, moving all the way up to rank 2, right behind Luning, who was able to work his way into 7th place. As, you know, top 3, it's starting to feel pretty tight. I mean, there's still a 5-point separation between Spear and Most, and as far as top 4 goes, we still have a lot of players closer to the bottom of the rankings that are still contesting that position.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big news for everyone is, you know, the fact that Luning didn't get any points, right? So, okay, you have a little bit of more breathing room. You've got a couple more tracks to go. HoJun immediately shoots up to 17 points trying to contest here. And of course, a Hero, as we see on screen, one of HoJun's proteges actually back in Kartrider League, desperately trying to claw his way back into the point standings as well as, okay, HoJun, he says we're gonna take a little bit of a different scenery here, getting ready for round 4. We will be going to World Tour New York Rally.
And off we go on the streets of New York, HoJun's map choice. Let's see what he's able to make happen here.
All right, Spear and JJONG in the lead. Now JJONG starting to try to climb back in as well. He got that 3rd place finish previously on 3 shortcuts. Now he's in the lead here in New York Rally.
Yeah, JJONG doing a great job, just able to play his build right now with a significant gap between him and everybody else. But with those drafts, watch to see Spear, HoJun, and Most start to close the distance. Although that collision there for Most takes a little bit of the wind out of his sails, and now it's JJONG playing a 1v2 right now, trying to hold on to pole position.
Yeah, Most, he has to take it. Not the most ideal line there, but he's still able to just defend himself against his opponents. I mean, that's the thing, right? You can have the best track records ever in time trial, but when you're up against 7 other racers, there's so many other variables to consider. HoJun just barely catching that drift to maintain his gauge as he tries to shoot back into the top 4. Everyone's bunched up. He's trying to shove people back into the tree.
Yeah, and that outer line really beneficial for him. His left side was so cluttered. And now HoJun, clean breakaway here into 2nd place, will with a boost be able to pass Hero into 1st. And now with some collisions, actually zoning out both Hero and JiMin, but Hero does get the better end of that last trade. As we continue on, keep in mind this is a 1-lapper. We're more than halfway through this track as we're entering the twilight. Spell now in 1st place, HoJun and Hero right behind him.
Yeah, now HoJun, he tries to go for an aggressive inner cut there, but he's gonna hit the corner. Another player getting bounced off the staircases near the end. Now JiMin, he gets shoved out early on in the track, but now he's breaking away. He doesn't want to give the draft timings to any of his opponents, but Hero's got one more boost, and it's not gonna be enough. JiMin finishes in 1st place, finally bringing himself back up the standings here with points.
Yeah, that was an insanely close finish between JiMin and Hero. For a moment, I thought Hero might have just enough momentum to carry him into 1st, but instead in a photo finish, JiMin finishing 1st place. I'm curious to see exactly, you know, at a timetable, what the difference was between those 2 racers. Is JiMin now getting on the board, and yeah, it's a 300th of a second, not even that.
Yeah.
That's like what, like a frame or something, man. That is crazy.
That's a close one, and I mean, you gotta feel for HoJun because we have to remember in their first initial opening match and team matches in preseason 2, he had to play that ace match against Neil on this track, and even there, you know, you do see Neil eventually finding the final draft, overtakes HoJun at the end, so I could tell that HoJun was trying to keep that in mind, make sure he's actually playing similar to Neil's position and style, but then he hits that wall, that corner near the end of the track, and he's not able to get a podium finish.
And so for HoJun, not really gaining that many points there. The middle of the race becomes a lot more hotly contested, but keep in mind, there are many tracks left to be played. Even if Luning were to win the next 2 tracks, there's still a guaranteed third one, sitting only at 25 points overall. So a lot of Kart Rider left to be played. We'll see exactly where the dominoes are going to fall as we get ready to move on to the next track. It's going to be Desert Ancient Aqueducts.
And we're off JiMin's pick here on Ancient Aqueducts. Of course, everyone just getting really bunched up. Most just trying to find an opening for himself so he can continue to race on his own build. Ooh, everyone's very close together around those first couple corners.
Yeah, HoJun actually got forced into the wall there, so loses a bit of momentum, falls to 6th place. And with all that congestion behind Luning, he's had a clean breakaway now, getting a lot of ground. Most also had a nice line there, but actually did collide with the wall, so he falls back as well now into 5th place, contesting here with JiMin. But, I mean, just look at this breakaway that Luning has, completely out of drafting range now even.
Yeah, he is way far ahead. Sure, things get a little bit narrow, and some players should be able to catch up here towards the end, but I don't see many worlds where Luning's letting go of that first place. Meanwhile, Spell and Spear, they're clumped up together, and Spell just barely tries to get that out into in, but he loses a bit too much speed trying to recover from that wall.
Yeah, Spear with a nice recovery himself, not losing too much ground there on Luning, as for a moment there, it almost felt like Spell was a sweeper on Luning's team, just kind of pushing everybody back, allowing him to break away as Luning continuing to hold on to that first place spot, but it is getting closer here. Spell now right behind him in drafting range, will use a boost, but looking at the boost gauge, Luning just feels like he constantly has 2 in the bag, so Luning doing a great job of building up that nitro and holding on to it, now fighting 1v1 versus Hero.
Yeah, and JJONG also making way to really catch up. He had just a bit of a better build there around those aqueducts. Meanwhile, Hero, he really needs these points. He's very close to the top 4 against JiMin right now with 16 versus 18 points. If he can even overtake Luning, oh, he thought he had an opening, but he's not going to be able to find the angle. He gets pushed back just a tad bit, and that makes an opening for Spear to enter 2nd place.
Yeah, it often happens here in these narrow corridors on Ancient Aqueducts, especially here by the finish line. Now Spear, actually with a lot of momentum, tries to go for the inner there to pass Luning, but Luning able to hold on now on this straightaway. Only a couple turns left. Luning, will he be able to navigate? And yes, he will, as Luning, even with a nitro with a bag, finishes in 1st place. Spear right behind him, and JiMin and JJONG rounding out the top 4.
And I love what JiMin did there at the very end, right around the last 90 degrees. He says, okay, I just really need to stay ahead of Hero, right? I don't need to greed. They're already too far ahead in the 1-2 spot anyway. So he actually completely slows down to avoid any crazy collisions and getting swung out of his own drift. And that way he's able to keep that 3rd place, stay ahead of Hero as well, and get a couple extra points to his name. And Luning finally setting a new record here on Ancient Aqueducts, takes down Byungsu's previous time.
Yeah, almost a full second ahead of Byungsu, as Luning really did feel like he was in time trial mode there, as he gets another 10 points on the board, now up to 35, as feels like Luning at this point all but assuredly going to be going to that winner's match, but still right behind him. It's so close in the middle ranks. I mean, oftentimes in these groups, especially in the earlier stage of these tournaments, you'll see 4 players really start to break away and 4 lag behind, but it just goes to show how talented this lobby is. No one's giving any ground, everyone staying competitive.
Yeah, but I mean, Luning's really starting to break ahead, right? Sure, he had a couple of those tracks where he wasn't gaining too many points. In fact, one where he got 7th place on 3 shortcuts. Doesn't get any points at all, but he continues to still be in 1st place. Can he maintain it as he gets that next track selection? He's bringing us back to another field-type track as we go to WKC Brazil Circuit.
And here we go on the streets of Brazil. Luning off to a great start now, only a 1st place and a 3rd place away from sending us home and finishing this one with 50 points.
All right, JiMin shooting forward, but Luning's right behind him. Now again, as we like to say about the field tracks, generally more opportunities for you to recover for yourself. However, Brazil circuit is one of those where, again, a lot of these shortcuts, it's a risk-reward system, right? You have to take a long course on the grass, lose a lot of speed, but if you have your boosts lined up, you should still be able to come out on top.
Yeah, there's a lot of calculation that has to go into taking exactly the right line, especially if other racers are going through the same thing, because, you know, in this one, because there are, you know, different paths that you can take, there are some opportunities for you to take the safer route and avoid collisions and retain some speed that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw Most try that early on the very first shortcut, just trying to gain a bit more boost, but it hasn't paid off yet for him, and still sitting in 7th place. Meanwhile, Spear, Spell, JiMin, HoJun, I mean, all these players bunched up together. Spell will be able to finish the first lap in 1st place. Can he keep it on the 2nd?
Yeah, HoJun building up a lot of nitro gauge here on this straightaway at the cost of speed, and we'll see if he can use that to pass Spear and Luning here, but the body blocking coming through in the clutch. HoJun not really able to find an opening, but I mean, the Pendulon, it's so stacked here at the top. I mean, all 5 racers are in striking distance of each other now coming in. Seeing if we have some different lines. Hero will be able to work his way into 3rd place, but JiMin still holding on to 1st for now.
Oh, and
it's so close.
With a great build to try to maintain it, but Hero keeps contesting against him, and HoJun's not actually able to really execute the exact build he wants, so HoJun's now trying to go for a couple more cuts to try to regain his boost gauge. Meanwhile, Spear, he's tried to escape the pack, but Hero, he starts to shoot forward off of a draft and a boost. Can he keep that speed?
What an insane outer line there by Hero, just completely avoiding the crowd and able to work his way into 1st place. Now the question is, can he hold on to it? Is JiMin here able to pass him on the grass, only 500 meters away from the finish line now. Hero once again going on the outer line, able to get into 1st place here on the straightaway. It's all going to come down to the nitro, and it's going to be Hero barely finishing ahead of JiMin.
Yeah, he just blocks him out to make sure JiMin's not able to find an opening to try to cross him over. And Hero will get that 1st place finish, get to select the next track. The first time Hero has finished 1st here in match 2 of the round of 16.
And that's going to take Hero from 5th place all the way into top 4, man. 19 points all the way up to 29, so he's solidifying his position here. Overall, 2nd place in team speed. So far here in KDL Preseason 2, now looking to advance to the winners match following the round of 16 as he sets a track record 1.58.3 seconds.
Yeah, just a great run here. And that was with him contesting against a lot of these other players. So like you said, shoots up to 29 points. HoJun still sitting at 20, but he's not that far off. Of course, we still have a couple extra tracks. Meanwhile, Most, not a bad finish here on that previous track, but sitting at 15, he's still got a little bit of ways to go to try to break into top 4.
But we are running out of time. I mean, guaranteed 2 tracks left, maybe 3. These racers that are right now below 4th place, they're going to have to make some big plays if they want to come back in this one.
All right, what's the choice going to be here from Hero? Player representing Aura, who had a rough loss earlier tonight. But can he redeem himself in the solos? Meanwhile, JiMin, representing Live Sandbox, still sitting with a healthy amount of points himself, trying to just make sure he gets into that winners match. You just want to have a little bit of that breathing room here in the solos, but we are getting ready. It is going to be Hero's choice on mind-winding slopes as we get into round 7 in the solos. We have 3 racers sitting in the 30-point range, Luning with 34, as we saw one of the players hit the pillar, falls far behind. Maybe it was Hero himself trying to bring us onto this track, but not a good start for him.
Oh, and HoJun right now in 5th place. We got to keep an eye on him as he's also 5th place overall in standings. 9 points behind Hero right now, as that is the cutoff for top 4 and advancing to the winners match. So look to see him try to do his best job to finish podium here and gain some more points.
Yeah, and for racers like JiMin and Most, I think Most actually having to slow down a little bit to recover, but these are players who are just shy of trying to contest for that top 4. They actually need pretty much 1st place to get enough of a point lead and get an advantage in that track selection as well. Yeah,
you need 1st place, or you need to get podium and have your rivals finish poorly. And actually a bad collision there. I think JiMin, it's going to be JiMin who falls all the way to 8th place, so that's going to be a disaster for him now as we're solidifying the top 4 right now. It's Spell, Luning, Most, and Spear breaking away from the pack.
Yeah, Spell only with 2 points, but if he gets 1st place, it's simply going to extend our solo match tonight for just a bit longer. See if that's going to make a difference for any of these players, maybe even including Spell himself. That would put him back into double digits. Meanwhile, Most just trying to make sure he doesn't lose speed. He just wants to get into the podium, try to contest for top 4.
Only 200 meters left to go, and on this straightaway it will be Spell picking up a much-needed win here in first place. Spear, Luning, and Most rounding out the top 4 as Spell finally going to be able to put up a track. As coming into this one, man, he only had 12 points. The cutoff in 4th place right now at 29, but I love how you said that this really buys everybody time because it's not one of those top racers. It's not Luning, Spear, JiMin, or Hero adding points and getting closer and closer to that top 50. That's the guy all the way down in 8th place. So we may have an additional track left to be played. And I mean, maybe Spell, maybe there is some world he can go on a hero run and make it to the top 4 right now, sitting all the way back down at 12 there with JJONG in 13. But really, my eyes now are on the top 6 with HoJun and Most, both 10 points or less shy from top 4.
Yeah, I mean, again, this gives a lot of space here for Most and HoJun to try to really solidify their rankings, right? The top rankings are now getting closer and closer to get a 39 versus 38 for number 1 and 2 between Luning and Spear. JiMin sitting behind at 33. And then it's really anybody's game. Hero, of course, still a little ways ahead with 29 points, but if he continues to fall far behind, it's not going to look good. As you get ready for the next track, it is going to be Glacier Extreme Stadium.
Here we go in track 8 of the round of 16 match 2 solos right now. Luning in first place with 39 points. Spear with 38 points right behind him. All but Locks for going to that winner's match. And we don't have too many tracks left to be played here in the solos, Will. These players that are right now sitting just below position 4 on the rankings, they got to rack up a lot of points to qualify for that winner's match.
Yeah, with the 39 and 38 points each for Luning and Spear, chances are we've got exactly 2 tracks left, including this one, right? So if either of them get first place, it's pretty much a lock for just 1 extra track. But even if not, they should be able to average around 11, 12 points. So curious to see how that pans out. Meanwhile, JiMin just trying to make sure he doesn't get crept on here in the top 4. He wants to get that first place solidified and try to get that next track selection.
Yeah, JiMin doing a great job of holding on through these hairpin turns, and also Most, a player that needs a lot of points right now to get up into top 4, is, you know, gearing up for a podium, but with Luning hot on his tail, I mean, I think we're getting closer and closer to the end here, you know, with only 2 tracks left. So Most, he really needs to make this one happen, and so far he is coming through under pressure right now, all the way up into 2nd place.
Yeah, I mean, if he also gets first place, he might be able to make a run against Hero for that top 4. Curious to see. He is back in top 1-2 contention, but Luning, what a monster he's been in the round of 16 so far. He's gunning for yet another first place finish as we enter the last sections of this track.
Yeah, Luning's just been an absolute monster here as we continue on lap number 2. Most right behind him, actually able to take a tight inner right there and even colliding with Luning, pushing him back. So that's Luning losing momentum coming into the hairpins now. Most with a nice first line, but JJONG actually with a tighter inner is going to be able to supplant him, take first place, but he clips the corner and he's going to fall back, and now it's Hero, JiMin, and Most rounding out the top 3.
Oh no, and that makes way for even Spell to try to catch up. Most actually gets collided all the way back on the last jump. I think he might have dropped off the track as well. So unfortunate for Most. He had such a good entry into those hairpins, but then he tries to take the safe route right in the very end, just making sure he starts on the out first, and then he'll just zigzag back in. With the boost and the acceleration in favor of his opponents, they are able to maintain it, and Hero, the man sitting in 4th place, continues to shoot forward with yet another first place finish.
And Most and HoJun were looking so good coming into that final hairpin turn, but both of them had a blunder, and they were right there sitting at 5th and 6th place. And now look at the difference between 4th and 5th with Hero racking up that win. 39 points to 21, as it feels like at this point, top 4 has solidified with Spear, JiMin, Luning, and Hero, unless some miracle happens, all but assuredly going to that winner's match in what potentially might be our last track.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. Now, we should mention, because Spear is just shy of that 7-point range, everyone currently in the 40s has to get the 10 points, right? They have to get first place to lock things out here on the next track. Curious to see what the choice is going to be here from Hero. But yeah, I mean, there's 3 players that are gunning for it, so there's a good chance. Okay, it is going to be Village Boom Hill Tunnel going into round 9. Does it wrap up here or not? Let's find out as we go to this next track. Village Boom Hill Tunnel, it's going to be Hero's Choice, but it's going to be 3 other racers that are looking to get first place and finish the night here for the round of 16 in the solo matches.
Yeah, Spear, JiMin, and Luning, if any of them can come through with the first place here, that will end the solo matches for the day and solidify the top 4. So everybody out of that top 3 spot right now, maybe with the exception of Hero in 4th place, praying that they fall down and they get another track to try and prove their mettle and qualify. But so far, it's looking good, man. Spear, the point leader overall right now in 1st place, and JiMin in 2nd place on the rankings overall, right behind him here in 3rd.
Yeah, what a story it would be, though, if Most is the one who changed that destiny for both himself and some of the other racers, right? He barely is able to shoot forward here in 1st place, and JiMin's contesting, but in a 1v1, Most should be okay. It's when he struggles against multiple other opponents. That's the part that he doesn't have as much experience in. Curious to see, do they take the railing build here? Most looks like he's lined up for it, so is everybody else behind him.
Yeah, everybody here in the top 4 at least going for that railing build. Actually, JJONG staying on the curve for a long time. We'll be able to get him ahead of Luning. Because I love that line for JJONG. And look at this cascade of collisions that happens as a result of it. Entering now the latter portions here. Most still in 1st place. Keep in mind, if Most wins this, we will get at least one more track. JiMin right behind him.
He's got a draft.
With the inner line, the collision comes through. And oh my goodness!
Most loses control of his cart. And JiMin will be able to shove him out, get that last boost. Oh man, you gotta feel for Most. Here's the thing, is that JiMin found the draft opening and then Most blocks him, but because of that collision, Most doesn't realize he's gonna actually have to do a little bit of recovering maneuverability, so he spins out of control just a bit on that last corner, doesn't have a boost to recover his own control, and JiMin finishes in 1st place, just barely out of Most, wrapping up the night here for the solo matches in the round of 16.
Yeah, Most just barely after that collision going a little bit too wide, and JiMin had a straighter route into the finish line, and here we have our top 4 at the end of the day. It's a wide separation with JiMin, Luning, Hero, and Spear all advancing to the winner's match. Now for HoJun, Most, Spell, and JJONG, this is not the end of the story for them here in the solo matches. They will fall to the losers. So there's more left to be played for them here today.
Yeah, absolutely, you know, another shot. But quite frankly, while it is JiMin who wraps up in 1st place here in match 2, and Luning, the guy who was just on the camera, he's the one who really put the pressure against everyone else, getting those repeated 1st place finishes. Of course, and it's Hero and Spear sitting next to each other, who will take the next remaining slots in the top 4, moving on to the winner's match.
And what a wonderful way to end the day here of KDL. I mean, this was a fantastic solo match. We knew coming in it was going to be a show, and it certainly delivered.
Yeah, I mean, what an insane finish here from JiMin. And listen, I mean, Most, we keep talking about him because, again, he is that kind of pure rookie, right, who doesn't have any experience on stage. It's his first time entering the solos into the round of 32 and now 16. He isn't on any team. He still played a pretty good race. Curious to see how he performs in the losers match, but it's JiMin, Luning, Hero, and Spear who will be moving on to the winners. Try to get into that final 8 first and foremost. Meanwhile, HoJun, Most, Spell, and JJONG. Now, these are players who are basically playing to survive here in the solo matches of Preseason 2.
Yeah, as we enter the double elimination portion here of the solos, you know, it's do or die for these guys in their upcoming match. And you know, a lot of fan favorites here too, especially with the Emperor HoJun in 5th place and JJONG. You know, kind of surprising me with an 8th place finish here today. I mean, this guy, he looked so good in KDL Preseason 1. He still seems solid in Preseason 2 in team speed, but just today was not quite his day. Only 16 points in total on the board.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, right? His ace matches have always been good. His team matches have been good. And of course, he has an incredible history back at the KRPL. But so far, the jury's still out to say that, okay, in an 8-man free-for-all solos, you haven't really shown that you know how to contest against these other players and defend your own positions as well when you don't have any teammates to also work off of and things like that. Or it's not a 1v1, right? There's just too many other factors to consider. So maybe JJONG's still trying to get used to it, but we know what he's capable of in terms of pure potential, so I wouldn't write him off just yet.
Yeah, especially considering how creative his builds were in those ace matches in KDL Preseason 1. I mean, they shocked all of us with the tight lines that he was able to make. And, you know, he didn't really play in solo match KDL Preseason 1 either. This is his first time playing the solo matches in Kartrider Drift League. So it is a bit of an adjustment period. He's already in the round of 16. He's going to move on to the losers match. And while he would love to be in the winners, I think that the story is not going to end there for him.
Yeah, and it's also, again, it's just preseason. We saw the same thing with HoJun, right? A guy who we've known can always adjust to new patches, new games for Cartwrighter. And he had a rough time in preseason 1. We all said, okay, you know what, maybe the fact that you did retire for a little bit is really costing you. And then he comes back and says, no, I've really learned from that. I'm grinding. Preseason 2 looks a lot better in both team and solo. So, again, we got to look at the big picture. We're still just in the preseasons. Patches are still continuing to flow and really kind of change things. People are getting used to the nuances as well. So, it's not all over just yet. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for matches. Let's take a look at what happened today here at KDL Preseason 2. We kick things off with our 2 team matches, of course, of the top 4 teams from Preseason 1. First up, it was SEONGNAMROX versus R.O.
SEONGNAMROX versus Aura in a match that definitely delivered. This one went down to the wire, 3-1 in speed, 3-2 in item, almost the full distance there in both those sets as SEONGNAMROX continues their undefeated streak here in the Preseason 2 of the KDL. And for Aura, this is a painful loss because now their playoff story, it's a little bit in question, you know, fighting up against Sensation, who have played, I think, 1 less set overall, if I'm not mistaken. And if Sensation comes through and they win that one, then it's going to be tough for Aura to hang on. But at least for Aura, you know, the toughest portion of their schedule, it's out of the way. They played all 3 pro teams. They just have to really deliver against the rookies now. Yeah, absolutely. So they'll really have to win all the remaining matches for themselves. Meanwhile, the rematch of the Preseason 1 finals and, of course, a rivalry through and through between Liv Sandbox and KWANGDONGFREECS. The Freaks come out quite dominantly, 3-1 in both speed and item mode. No need for an ace match in this one. Yeah, and this was surprisingly one-sided in the favor of the Freaks, man. I mean, we did have that one item track where they got like 5 Thunderbolts. Yeah. Which, I mean, that's anyone that gets that many Thunderbolts, I mean, that's kind of crazy. But besides that, in speed and also in the rest of the item tracks, they just looked so solid. They had a clear game plan, and now with a plus 14 round differential and a 5-0 record, I mean, they're looking unstoppable. Yeah. Certainly going to be the first seed, if I'm not mistaken. Well, yeah, I mean, I think now the question is, can ROX do any damage to the Freaks, right? Because if they do, I mean, the Freaks have currently played 1 extra match, so if ROX is able to beat the Freaks, then ROX really making a run for that first seeding going into the tournament stage. Meanwhile, like we mentioned, Sensation currently sitting ahead of Aura. I also believe those 2 teams haven't met yet, so that's probably going to be the determining match between those 2 teams to see who gets in the top 4. Meanwhile, potential Seraph against Showtime, right? 3 of these amateur teams that have a couple new players, some of them with entirely new rosters that haven't had any stage time, so curious to see how they continue to develop the rest of this preseason. And now looking at the round of 16 results from the solo match. Of course, yesterday we had Cool, World, Ding, and Neil advance to the round of 16 winners with Sungmin, Hyunsu, Joker, and Dutzy falling down to the losers. They will meet the losers from today, JJONG, HoJun, Spear, and JiMin in a battle to survive. But you know, the winners match, it's looking crazy, man. I mean, Luning, he's been looking so good so far this year. Hero as well, Spear and JiMin too. I mean, the former item ace for Liv Sandbox just continues to deliver in these solos, and I cannot wait to watch that round of 16 winners match. It's going to be so much fun. I mean, yeah, it's, again, the round of 16 is entirely stacked, but the winners match, right? We've got a triple KWANGDONGFREECS, you've got double Liv Sandbox, you've got double Aura. I mean, it's a very, very stacked lineup. And then the losers match, too. To think that we're going to have to say goodbye to 4 of those players that we saw still remaining, it's going to be a rough one in solos. But, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we continue on Wednesday, which means it's going to be a night of team matches. Yeah, Wednesday will start 6 p.m., same as today, same as yesterday, with Showtime versus Liv Sandbox, Potential versus Sensation, and Seraphic versus SEONGNAMROX. Of course, on Wednesdays, we have 3 team matches. On the weekends is when we do the solos. So should be a lot of fun seeing exactly where these teams end up shaking out. Hopefully these rookies will be able to come through with an upset. It hasn't really happened yet in KDL Preseason 2. As, you know, Showtime versus Liv Sandbox, Potential versus Sensation, Seraphic versus ROX. Every team on that right side, they feel so favored. Yeah, these are all basically David and Goliath stories in their own right. So I think the storyline for Wednesday will more so be have those kind of bottom teams improved and figured out their own win conditions to try to get, for some of them, their first win here in team matches of Preseason 2. But if not, we're going to continue to see kind of the top teams really start to break away here at KDL. Yeah, and Sensation with a win on Wednesday also would really solidify their position in top 4 and put a ton more pressure on Aura. So even though it's 3 on paper mismatches. There's still a lot of importance in them determining who's going to go to the postseason, who isn't.
Yeah, I mean, same for SEONGNAMROX, right? Sure, they'll probably win the match, but can you keep up that round and set differential so that when you meet, the other pro teams, you can confidently say, okay, no matter what, we're shooting ahead of you regardless of the other matchup. So, again, everything still is going to matter in terms of shaking things up. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for KDL Preseason 2 tonight. We return on Wednesday at 6 p.m. We'll see you then.